Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are covering some reactions, reviews, kind of first reactions from a recent screening premiere. You all know how it goes, from a recent movie or show, this one being Thunderbolts. Highly anticipated for some of us, and you know, this is a movie that seems kind of out of the loop with the MCU and kind of something different, something more fresh, and a different take, a different approach to their movies. That's what it looks like, at least. Yeah, today a bunch of people got to go to their premiere, and there was a fan screening today as well. So we have a bunch of reactions that we are going to cover. Before we do though, if you like this type of content, please do us a favor over here, like the video, subscribe, and click that bell. Helps the channel out a ton. It's completely free, and we would greatly appreciate it. But we're gonna go ahead and get straight into these reactions. This first one coming from Sean Chandler, great YouTuber. You guys should check him out. He does a bunch of movie content as well. But he said, I really dug Thunderbolts. It's overtly about depression, loneliness, and purpose. The whole point is they're reject characters. 2/3 mostly grounded action and 1/3 a horror influenced nightmare. Feels like the MCU is coming together and building towards something again. Now, this is something we've all been waiting for, because that's what the MCU is kind of known for. That's kind of what we bought into with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not only did they have that stretch between like 2014 to 2019 of just great movies, but they were seamlessly connected and really trying to tell an overarching story while, you know, fitting some character depth in each solo movie. And I'm glad to hear that. It does feel like we're finally getting back into that groove where these movies are not only telling a good story, but they mean something to the overall larger narrative. This next one though comes from Culture Base, saying Thunderbolts has got to be one of the most unexpected MCU movies Marvel has ever done. Thunderbolts takes the MCU into a world of independent films. Movie is hilarious, it dives into trauma, bold emotion, healing, redemption, and unlike anything Marvel has ever done, truly a piece of art. I'm so glad they shined the independent filmmaking. There's a lot of people on this project that are, you know, made prestige television, have worked on prestige films, and mostly indie films. They've tried to market that. I wonder how that will go, and I wonder how this movie will do in general, considering, you know, there's a lot of unknown characters in here to the general public, and it's not the most accessible or widely known IP, so I'm really curious how this does. But another very positive one. This next one comes from Chris Parker, aka 3C Films, the GOAT. Go check out his channel, literally amazing. He says Thunderbolts is a real breath of fresh air for the MCU. Absolutely love the team dynamic. It's also rich with emotions, tackling pretty serious self-worth issues. Yelena carries the movie. Best part, it's 95% standalone with 5% setup. But that 5% though really felt like old MCU. We've been hearing stuff like this for certain projects, and then we would go back out of the loop. You know, someone would say it really reminds you of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe was like, and then we'd get another dud. Now, the next movie we have coming after this is Thunderbolts, or is Avengers Doomsday next year. So I do wonder, you know, what that trajectory is going to be like. But yeah, another extremely positive one, calling it a breath of fresh air, which I feel like is it looks that way. I mean, it does not look like your very standard MCU movie, which you know, while I don't hate, you know, you could still make that good with that formula, but I do think something fresh, something new is needed. This next one that we have comes from Nicola Austin, saying MCU aside, Thunderbolts feels like a genuinely timely story, similar to Legion, but also packed with heart and humor. Adored the ragtag team dynamic. There's some really fun quips, but it's Florence Pugh who steals the show. Really solid action set pieces too. More, please. Another one, you know, praising Florence Pugh. She was like the big standout from Black Widow easily, and it seems like she's gonna do the exact same thing here and really carry this movie on their shoulders. And comparing this movie to Legion, just got me a little more excited. Can't even lie. If you guys have never seen Legion, do yourselves a favor, go watch that series. Amazing. This next one that we have though comes from Dan Marcus saying Thunderbolts is incredible. It's deeply invested in the interpersonal relationships of the characters, making it a compelling character drama as well as a fun blockbuster. There's a visceral 27-minute therapy scene that left me crying and confused. It's so fun. Loved this. So it seems like this movie really is tackling some deeper thoughts, some deeper feelings, of depression, loneliness, and self-worth. And it seems like that's a real huge theme in this movie and the biggest takeaway. Wonder how that will be obviously when I go watch this. But this next one comes from Matt Negley. It's a big one. He says Thunderbolts is in many ways different from other MCU films that have come before it, and that freshness couldn't have arrived at a more opportune time when the franchise is in need of new blood and direction. It's some of Marvel's darkest material to date, dealing with emotional wreckage of broken individuals grappling with their past choices and finding camaraderie amidst the emptiness of their lives. This may be a team-up film, but it very much belongs to Florence Pugh, who carries much of the dramatic weight of the movie on her back, while Lewis Pullman delivers a complex performance as a sympathetic character at war with himself. It may not be the flashiest, funniest, or strongest Marvel film, but its rough edges and imperfections somehow all feel fitting for this anti-hero team of misfits. Wow, I mean, what did they say there that wasn't positive? Even down to it not being perfect, but that kind of being a good thing. I mean, I do think that works for something like this, that's rough around the edges, that's dealing with more cynical characters and darker themes. And yeah, it's so interesting to hear the first shout out that we got of Lewis Pullman, I'm pretty sure, calling him sympathetic. I'm curious how his story will be in this movie, but we're gonna go ahead and move on. This next one coming from Jacob saying Thunderbolts is truly fantastic. The cast has electric chemistry with each other. Florence Pugh and Lewis Pullman are the standouts, and the action sequences are very strong. But most of all, the film story hit me like a ton of bricks. It's bold, important, and so well written. Another one very much praising the emotional weight that this movie has, and that's so good to hear, because that is something that even the best MCU movies always had. Yeah, you had the action, you had the great characters returning that we all loved, but at its core, it was telling a story that was resonant, emotional, and deeply affecting. And I do think that's why Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was such a kind of shock to people that felt like the MCU was on its downfall or anything. It really tore them apart, and to get another story that's I don't know if it's as affecting, but that's in that vein of just that much emotional catharsis and resonance, that's really good to hear. This next one coming from Josh Barton. He says Thunderbolts isn't afraid to change the formula of the superhero film, and in doing so becomes one of the most fascinating MCU projects in recent memory. It makes a bold statement to tackle heavy subject matters dealing with inner demons in particular, and after a wobbly start, comes together as a new team is formed. Florence Pugh is the beating heart of it all and is someone the MCU needs to keep around for years to come. It really grew on me as it went on, so not as much praise and extremely overly positive as some that we've gotten before, but they still really enjoyed it. Great to hear. But this next one coming from Juan saying Thunderbolts is a potential MCU game changer, feeling like the best team-up since Avengers. Pugh grounds it, Pullman's masterful, and Stan steals scenes. A bit rough, but a bold, refreshing swing that could land it among Marvel's best. Them saying it's the best team-up since Avengers, now that's not the biggest thing in the world, considering we don't have like a bunch of teams in the MCU right now. And I think the only real comparison is like Guardians of the Galaxy. And if this is on that level of how much I love these characters and the story they're telling and how much it affects me, then I would be greatly surprised. I would really love for that to happen. That is big praise. We're gonna cover a couple more and then wrap this up. This next one coming from from Geek Vibes Nation saying, Marvel's Thunderbolts is perfection. Marvel has delivered one of its most emotionally resonant and action-packed entries yet. This isn't just another team-up movie, it's a bold new chapter that introduces a more grounded human side to the MCU. The film strikes a perfect balance between humor, thrilling action, and raw emotion. The entire cast brings their A game, but the clear standout is Florence Pugh as Yelena. Obviously, she is marketed all over the film, so I don't expect anything but her to really carry this movie, but it really does seem like she is at the forefront, and I'm interested to see how this works as a Thunderbolts movie, as a team-up movie, but maybe a spiritual Black Widow successor or sequel, kind of. I'm curious. But this next one comes from Big Gold Belt Media saying, Thunderbolts is raw, hilarious, and deeply human. It's a bold dive into trauma, healing, and redemption. Proof that even the so-called defective losers and disposable delinquents can rise above their past and become the heroes no one expected. It's gritty, emotional, and unlike anything Marvel has done, a must-see story that hits where it hurts and heals where it matters. One mid and one post-credit scene. Finally, someone confirmed 2 post-credit scenes. I do hear they are absolutely insane, which makes me wonder if they're putting something really huge in the post-credit scene for a movie like Thunderbolts, which doesn't have much draw to it. If I'm being honest, the IP isn't well known. A lot of the characters aren't really beloved or anything other than like Bucky and maybe Yelena. I'm curious what they might attach to a much larger movie like the Fantastic Four First Steps. But they were extremely positive on it. We're going to cover 2 more, wrap this up. This one coming from The Hollywood Handle saying, Thunderbolts is one of Marvel's most enjoyable films in a while. It feels different than most of the studio projects. It's bold, funny, filled with great action, and an unexpected emotional punch. Florence Pugh is the star that shines the brightest. There's a lot to love here. Make sure you stay for the credits. Once again, just reverberating Florence Pugh praise and how much she stands out and how much she really steals this movie. And as someone who really enjoyed Black Widow, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, but I enjoyed it, especially at the time it came out, very dark times. I fell in love with her, and when she showed up in Hawkeye, I loved her even more, and I can't wait to see more of that character. But this last one comes from Emily Murray, and she says, well, Thunderbolts is easily one of the best MCU movies in a long time, and maybe one of my new personal faves. Has so much spark, charisma, and tells a genuinely emotional story you connect with. A tear was shed. Florence Pugh in particular, superb, just walks away with it. And that's going to be the ending of all of the reactions we have covered. There's probably more that I haven't that you guys can go find somewhere. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people are extremely positive on the movie, and that, it's a step in the right direction. Even the people that weren't too high on the movie know that, if this is kind of the steps we're taking, we're going in the right direction, especially when it comes to the overarching story of the MCU. And yeah, I hear the post-credit scenes, once again, are really important, especially to the upcoming Avengers movies and stuff like that. So definitely stick around for those credits, and I cannot wait to see, which characters I might fall in love with surprisingly, which characters might get backstabbed, or maybe some stakes are in the movie where any of these characters bite it. And I'm also curious what you all think in the comments below. Place your thoughts on what you thought about these reactions, how excited you are, will you be watching this movie, anything related to this. Go ahead and leave your thoughts. We love discussing with you guys over here. And if you made it this far into the video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell. It helps the channel out a ton. It's completely free. We would greatly appreciate it. But other than that, it's been your boy 𝙎𝙬𝙚𝙚, and hopefully I see you all in the next one.